Yes. Good morning, Canada. You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
Hashtag your take.
Yes, hashtag your take.
Love
And in
it.
today's Your Take, we are taking a look at frivolous 911 calls and how they impact police resources and response times. Ben and Priya, we talked about a story recently on this show about a 12-year-old from Halifax who called 911 to say how he did not like the salad he was being served by his parents.
Yeah.
Judging,
Yeah, yikes.
not judging. Judging. Okay, but seriously, we are going to take a look at improper 911 use because it's a problem in Canada, as you guys know.
We like to make fun of it. We tell those stories in a very lighthearted way on this show when somebody calls because they didn't like their McNuggets or their pizza or any number of things. But you're right. The fact is, behind this is a finite resource, and for every call that they have to take that's frivolous, that's one call that's waiting on the line for real help.
And I wish this didn't happen often, but it is. And we looked at some stats, and you know what? They are a little bit startling. So we looked at stats right across the country. In Halifax, for example, in the last 2 weeks, there were over 24 frivolous 911 calls. Really? In Edmonton, last year, nearly 40% of the calls made to 911 were for not serious reasons.
Wow.
And about a third of the estimated 62,000 emergency 911 calls made in Saskatoon last year were either misdialed or for non-emergencies.
Okay.
So it seems like Canadians, some of us, we're a little bit trigger happy in terms of calling 911 for stuff that it just isn't that serious.
Okay.
I know, Priya, you teased that you had a story, and I'm not saying that yours wasn't, frivolous, but let us hear it. Let us hear it.
I'm pretty embarrassed about it now, but at the time, so I just moved to Halifax. It was the August long weekend, which is Natal Day there. And I did not know what Natal Day celebrations entailed. So I was in my house and I heard bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
So I ran to the basement and laid on the floor and called 911 because I thought it was gunshots outside of my house. And the 911 operator very nicely told me that it was fireworks for Natal Day. And she said, don't worry, this happens all the time. So it made me feel better at the time, but I mean, it is bad if a lot of people are obviously calling for that reason.
And obviously you didn't intentionally call.
No, I
for
did
a
not.
frivolous reason.
No.
But don't you think people would think twice about making those frivolous calls if they knew that at the end of it they received a bill?
Well, that's the thing, and that's the question we're going to get to. But I want to talk about some of the examples that we found in Saskatchewan.
Okay.
The RCMP there released a list recently, and listen to the top three. So one was a gamer to be dialed 911 because they were upset they had to sign up for Xbox Live. Oh, get this, the caller also wanted RCMP members to come set up the Xbox for them.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, that's bad.
Yes, this was a call to 911, my friends.
This was a cry for help is what it was.
Yeah, you want to hear another one, guys?
Sure.
Someone called 911 to find out the phone number of their pedicurist. Is this the pedicure or is this, which one is the pedicure? Oh, this one's the manicure.
Yes.
That's
Okay,
manicure.
well, I guess the feet. They were looking for someone to do their feet, so they called 911.
Google
All right,
people.
and this last one, I mean, I don't even know how to top this. Someone just wanted to make sure when they called 911 if they were actually supposed to be in jail.
Okay. Sure.
We'll leave that there.
Okay.
But we talked about the fact that this does impact police resources. I mean, 911 emergency call centers are handled locally at the municipal levels, usually by your local police force. And in Toronto, a report was recently released that showed that response times averaged between 17 seconds to 3.5 minutes. So at some points in the day, you can actually be put on hold when you're calling 911. So take that in. Just a couple weeks ago in Toronto, a restaurant owner actually called 911 because one of the patrons there was choking on food. They were put on hold for 5 minutes.
And that's the difference between life and death.
Exactly.
Right.
So we talked about it, and Ben, you asked about fines. Are there fines in place? Well, we looked at it. Some provinces actually do have legislation in place. Surprisingly, Saskatchewan has legislation. It is known as the Emergency 911 System Act, and anyone found guilty of making false 911 calls could be fined up to, get this, $2,000 for a first offense, and up to $5,000 for any offenses after that. Now, this was the only province we could find that actually had legislation in place, but we did find an example in Ontario where a man, I believe it was last year, was charged after a series of prank 911 calls. The 37-year-old man was charged with 6 counts of providing false information and 2 counts of public mischief. So there are examples out there of people getting the book handed to them.
Well, if we were to tell those stories on the show, as we do, oh, this person made this call and this person made that call, and if we tagged every one of those stories with and they were fined $2,000, and they were fined $5,000, then that message would start getting out there that this isn't for fun, this isn't a toy, this isn't a call for companionship. This is a tool that is used for social good, and it's an emergency service. And if we were to do that, maybe it would inform the public and it would change their behavior.
Right.
Agreed.
And you know what? It goes back to also just thinking about it as, what if you were in an emergency situation? Would you want to be put on hold? So Canada, here's your hashtag your take question, and use that hashtag. Should people be fined for frivolous 911 calls, or do you have a story to share? Let us know on all our social media platforms.